Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Vic and I'm a first year PhD student at the University of Toronto. Today's video is a little different from my regular content and I think it comes at a really important time. This past week was World Mental Health Day and October is actually ADHD Awareness Month. So I thought it was the perfect moment to open up about something personal that has shaped my life recently, and that is that I was diagnosed with ADHD at 25, right at the start of my PhD. Grab something cozy. I have my tea here with me. This is the mug that I painted this summer that I love. And it actually says on the back, "You are exactly where you're supposed to be," which I think is fitting for this video. But yeah, it's a little bit of a shorter one where I'll talk about what this diagnosis has meant for me and how it's impacted my academic journey. But yeah, welcome back to the Doctoral Diaries. So let's go back to this past summer. It's August and I'm on the phone yapping to my dear friend Ashley, who I met while I was living in London. And for some reason, I'm explaining things to her and not a singular thought is feeling particularly linear that day. And amidst the millions of sentences and ideas I am throwing her way, I look at her and I say so innocently, "I think I have ADHD." And she looks at me with such sincere eyes back and says, "I think you do too." And for some reason, when she said it, I felt my heart drop. It almost was like, for the first time in my life, my whole body went transparent and someone was able to actually look at my brain. And that was the first time I really sat and thought about the possibility of having ADHD. I have to give Ashley so much love and appreciation back, because the way that she looked at me, there was not a single ounce of judgment in her eyes. It was just this wonder that we had discovered something. Like we were looking at a bottle of Mentos and Coke just exploding in front of us. And this is what kind of sent me into that investigative spiral. After that call, I did a lot of writing, reading, calling, talking, and I eventually wound up at an ADHD specialist appointment this past Tuesday. At this appointment, for hours, we dug into my childhood, my most peculiar behaviors, my most repugnant thoughts, my relationship with my family, school, work, my romantic life, and it became abundantly clear that I was struggling with ADHD today, but that I had been doing so since I was really, really young. It also became clear that I developed OCD as a result of masking for so many years and trying to avoid negative repercussions in my academic, personal, and professional lives. Some of the telltale signs that I've only recently come to learn the names of are raging perfectionism, time paralysis, rejection sensitive dysphoria, terrible organizational skills, and most frustratingly, I would say procrastination, even when I want to do something or when I'm really passionate about it. I kind of want to talk about my academic performance throughout the years and why I'm a little frustrated that this went unnoticed. I think my academic performance and success in school and outside of school has been a driver in me perceiving ADHD as not a possibility. I think this is also reflective of how society paints ADHD to look like, and of course, who's allowed to have it, and if you're good at some skills that you must not have it. Like there's just a lot of misconceptions about ADHD, and I think they definitely played a role in my ability to flag it in myself. Looking back on it now though, I realize that success and the means to which you achieve that success are completely two different things. On paper, a lot of the time I was the perfect student, I was the perfect friend, really good artist, creative, all of these things, but in hindsight, I really had so much trouble going on. My way of living and going about all of these challenges as potential that was just impeded by laziness. And I think because of that, I developed a really awful and horrific inner critic. I'm gonna read this straight out of my diary because I feel like I said it perfectly here. And as a student, I've always had the curiosity and creativity that carried my interest in school, but otherwise, I always felt like I didn't deserve my success because of the way that I arrived at that success, which was just a melting pot of terrible study habits and ultimately my inability to sustain my attention. I do want to give a couple of shout outs. If it weren't for a lot of this patient and outside of the box teachers that I had when I was going throughout elementary and high school, I don't think I would have had the confidence to pursue more school. As well as in university, I don't think I would be pursuing my PhD right now. And I also want to thank Little Vic, and I don't want to get emotional, but there's a lot of things that she did, not necessarily understanding why she was the way that she was, to ensure that she was being accounted for and that she was heard. And whether that was getting accommodations or just like doing the work in the way that felt most authentic to her. If it wasn't for those attempts at getting my ideas out into the world, I don't think I would have the confidence that I do now. So proud of you, Vic. Let's get into how this diagnosis is affecting my PhD journey. And I've been doing it all of my years of education, is looking for how to be the successful student in a PhD program and then masking as best as I can to become that student. And on the PhD level, there is no perfect student. There is no ideal student. And I really got caught up in the idea of searching for that, sifting through anything that I could find to make me avoid failure right off the bat. And it became really, really exhausting. I think any PhD student begins with imposter syndrome and can have enduring effects of imposter syndrome throughout their entire degree. I feel like with ADHD and the way that it's manifested in me, it really has been amplifying imposter syndrome. At the same time, it's been so fast paced that I've almost had to just like completely mute that inner critic and get shit done. Otherwise, like I would be drowning in my assignments. And so it's been helpful in that way, but I wouldn't say it's been healthy. It's funny though, because then again, like I'm performing really well in my classes, and despite feeling this way, I am performing well academically. But again, it just ties back to years and years of damage of feeling inadequate in school and having to work 10 times more to feel like I'm being the student that other people want me to be or see me as. Despite these negative and scary feelings, I did want to say that I find this diagnosis extremely validating, but also empowering. Like now I have the vocabulary and the understanding to perceive how little Vic struggled, but also how I struggle now and how I can advocate for myself and others going forward now that I'm aware of my neurodivergency. I also feel like this is an amazing time, and it's meant to be. And like I said, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, because I'm building a community right now on YouTube with all of you who are passionate about learning, passionate about education. And I think it would be really harmful of me to hide, even though it's such a personal experience, hide this diagnosis from all of you. Because number one, it makes me who I am and the content that I've already produced. But number two, it sends a signal, and it's kind of a residue of the system and the idea that people with ADHD should hide their symptoms and they shouldn't come to terms with them or feel comfortable expressing them to other people. And that's not what I want. And that's why I wanted to leverage October specifically as ADHD Awareness Month to really have this conversation and show all of you that neurodivergency does not mean you can't pursue higher education. It does not mean that you can't achieve amazing things. And ADHD or neurodivergency does make you all the more colorful and beautiful. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are experiencing anything similar, particularly ADHD in education, I would love to have a chat with you in the comments down below. But ultimately, I really appreciate all of your support on my journey thus far. I cannot be more happy to be sharing my life with all of you. I will see you on the next episode of the Doctoral Diaries. Cheers.